Have you ever noticed how she recalls tiny things about you, things you didn't even think mattered? The color of your pen, the joke you made once, or the song you hummed last month. It isn't a coincidence. Women have a unique way of storing details that can reveal what they truly feel. Psychology shows that remembering small, seemingly insignificant details is often linked to emotional interest. When a woman focuses on these little moments, it's not just memory, it's her subconscious telling her story, mapping connection points in her brain. These details act as invisible threads, connecting her attention and emotions directly to you. But why does this happen? And what can it reveal about her intentions? In this video, we'll explore the hidden psychology behind why women remember small details, backed by research and real-life examples, so you can understand the subtle signs of attention, interest, and emotional focus. If you want to understand these hidden signals and see the small things she remembers in a new light, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. The science of memory and attention. Have you ever wondered why she remembers even the tiniest details about you? Maybe it's the way you absent-mindedly twirl a pen, a song you mentioned once, or that small habit you didn't think anyone noticed. This isn't random. Psychology explains that our brains don't just store facts, they store meaning. And women, in particular, are wired to pay attention to emotional significance. Research in cognitive psychology shows that the human brain prioritizes information tied to feelings over neutral data. When something sparks emotion, curiosity, amusement, comfort, the brain encodes it more deeply, creating lasting memories. A woman's memory is strongly linked to social and emotional processing. Studies suggest that women often outperform men in recalling faces, expressions, and personal interactions. This is not just nature being kind, it's evolutionary. Remembering small cues about social partners historically helped women navigate relationships, understand intentions, and maintain social harmony. When she recalls little things about you, her brain is marking connections and building patterns of emotional relevance. It's as if every minor detail becomes a thread in a mental map of you. Think about it. When she notices a slight change in your tone, remembers an inside joke, or recalls a casual comment from weeks ago, it's her subconscious highlighting importance. The details may seem trivial to you, but for her, they create a network of signals that define her perception of you. This isn't magic, it's pure psychology. Even more, when multiple small details are remembered and referenced later, it shows focused attention and emotional engagement. Memory and attention also work together to reveal intentions. If she consistently recalls your preferences, your moods, or the little anecdotes you casually mention, it shows her mind is subconsciously connecting dots. She isn't just remembering facts, she's building a mental story about your character and your relationship with her. Understanding this is crucial. Many men underestimate how these small details reflect deeper attention and interest. This isn't about overanalyzing, it's about observing subtle patterns in behavior that can provide real insight into her feelings. Small details are like breadcrumbs, leading you toward understanding the subconscious way she signals attraction or emotional focus. This is why psychologists emphasize the link between emotional significance and memory. When someone remembers your details, it reflects where they focus their mental and emotional energy. And when it comes from a woman, it often goes deeper than casual interest, it's emotional investment encoded in everyday moments. Emotional significance of small details. It isn't just memory, it's emotion. When a woman remembers small things about you, it usually ties directly to how she feels about you. Psychology explains that emotions act like highlighters for the brain. Things that trigger a strong emotional response, whether positive or negative, are stored more vividly. That's why she might recall the exact shirt you wore on a special day, a casual comment you made that made her laugh, or even a small habit you didn't notice. Each memory is stamped with emotional value, making it more than just a fact, it becomes a reflection of how you made her feel. Think about the last time someone remembered a tiny thing you said weeks ago. Didn't it feel special? For women, this is amplified. Research shows that women tend to process social and emotional cues more deeply, meaning they often encode even subtle interactions into long-term memory. Your offhand joke, your favorite snack, or the way you frown when thinking, all of these may be remembered because they carry emotional significance. But it goes beyond affection or attraction. Sometimes remembering details is a way for her to gauge your character. She might note patterns in your behavior, small reactions in different situations, or preferences you express. This helps her subconsciously predict your responses, your personality, and your compatibility. It's an emotional map, constantly updated with tiny markers that guide her understanding of you. Here's a fascinating part. She doesn't always consciously realize she's doing it. Memory works quietly in the background, connecting your actions to her feelings. That casual mention of a childhood memory, a hobby, or even a fear, if she recalls it later, it's because your story left a subtle emotional footprint. These footprints build a sense of closeness and understanding, often stronger than words could express. The emotional significance of small details also explains why certain gestures or repeated habits become meaningful. A smile you give when nervous, a way you tilt your head, the exact phrase you use in a joke, these tiny things, when consistently noticed and remembered, indicate emotional attention. For psychologists, this isn't just interest, it's engagement. Her mind is creating a nuanced picture of you, piece by piece, feeling by feeling. So next time she recalls a detail you thought went unnoticed, remember, it's not trivial. It's a window into her attention and emotions, showing you where her mind and heart are quietly focused. The smallest things can reveal the deepest truths about her interest and emotional connection. Patterns of attraction in everyday interaction. It isn't random, there's a pattern to the way a woman shows attraction. Small, repeated behaviors often reveal more than words ever could. Psychologists call this micro-behaviors, subtle actions that signal interest or emotional investment. It could be the way she laughs a certain way when talking to you, mirrors your gestures unconsciously, or keeps bringing up topics she knows you like. Each action is a clue, a silent signal your brain may not immediately register but your mind can decode over time. Take eye contact, for example. When she maintains longer, focused eye contact, it's rarely accidental. Studies show that prolonged eye contact can trigger the release of oxytocin, their bonding hormone, which increases feelings of connection and trust. Similarly, slight touches, leaning in during conversation, or small attentional gestures like remembering what you said last week, are not just manners, they are ways her mind communicates interest without saying a word. Then there's verbal patterns. She might ask about your opinions on topics she never discussed with others, or bring up memories you shared in casual conversation. This isn't just curiosity, it's her way of creating a mental map of you, charting your personality and preferences. It allows her to feel closer, even if she never verbalizes her attraction. Psychologists have studied these patterns extensively. Research into nonverbal cues shows that the body often reveals what the mind is trying to conceal. While someone might verbally downplay interest, their posture, gestures, and expressions often tell the truth. This is why repeated micro-behaviors are more reliable than outright statements. They reflect instinctive attention and emotional focus. But here's a critical insight, these patterns also serve her own emotional need. By noticing your habits and reactions, she creates a sense of control and understanding. This is not necessarily manipulative, it's a natural mechanism for feeling secure and connected. When she mirrors your mood or remembers your reactions, she's reinforcing the bond, often unconsciously. Even seemingly trivial actions matter. Sharing a song she thinks you'd like, sending a meme relevant to an inside joke, or texting just to check how your day is going, these behaviors form a pattern of emotional signaling. Each small action accumulates, creating a clear map of her interest and engagement over time. Understanding these patterns can help you see attraction in subtle ways. It isn't about guessing, it's about observing repeated behaviors that consistently point toward emotional focus. When multiple small cues align, it's often a sign that she is more invested than she lets on. Case studies. Real-life example. Real-life situations often show the same psychological patterns we just discussed. Let's look at a few examples that reveal how women remember small details about a man and why it matters. Consider Sarah, a 27-year-old office worker. She noticed that her coworker, Ali, loved a certain coffee blend. Over weeks, she started bringing that exact coffee to the office whenever he seemed stressed. To an outsider, this might look like a simple act of kindness. But psychologists would note that remembering such a detail, and acting on it, signals emotional investment. Sarah wasn't just being polite, her brain had recorded small but meaningful information about Ali, which she used to create connection and attention. Then there's the case of Fatima and her college friend, Rayhan. Fatima remembered the exact book Rayhan mentioned months ago as his favorite. When she gifted it to him on his birthday, he was stunned, not just because she gave a gift, but because it showed she was paying attention in a way most people never do. Psychologists call this selective memory, the mind prioritizing emotionally relevant details. The act strengthens bonds because it communicates that someone sees you, not just superficially, but deeply. Another example comes from social settings. A woman might recall what a man said in passing about his dreams or fears. When she brings it up later, it can feel surprising and personal. It isn't trickery, it's a psychological mechanism. Women often encode details from conversations that trigger emotional responses. Over time, these small, remembered facts accumulate, creating a sense of intimacy and shared understanding. Even in casual interactions, small signs matter. Noticing the way someone reacts to a joke, remembering their preferred topics, or recalling previous conversations can subtly shift dynamics. These micro-behaviors make the person feel valued and seen. It's why men often feel a woman remembers everything about them, even though she might not consciously realize the impact of her memory. What's disturbing for some is that this memory can be used consciously or unconsciously to influence. A woman might recall details to guide a conversation, to make the man feel a stronger connection, or even to steer emotional outcomes. It's not necessarily manipulative, but it shows the power of psychological attention. In each of these examples, what seems like casual attention is actually rooted in deep psychological patterns. Remembering details is more than courtesy, it's a way to build trust, intimacy, and sometimes attraction. Understanding this pattern can help you recognize genuine attention versus superficial behavior. Recognizing the signs and protecting yourself. 500 words. Now that we've explored how women remember small details about a man, it's important to understand how you can recognize this behavior and protect yourself emotionally. Awareness doesn't mean being paranoid, it's about understanding patterns so you can respond wisely. First, pay attention to consistency. If she often recalls details from past conversations, things you barely noticed yourself, it shows she is paying close attention. This isn't necessarily romantic, but it indicates focus and emotional investment. Ask yourself, does she do this selectively with you, or with others too? Recognizing patterns helps you understand whether her attention is unique or general. Second, notice how she uses these details. Does she mention them in meaningful ways that make you feel understood, or casually in conversation without deeper connection? Genuine attention often leads to empathy and trust building. If it seems calculated, used to impress or manipulate, it's a red flag. Psychological studies suggest people who deliberately track details to influence emotions may be using a subtle form of social control. Third, monitor your own emotional responses. When someone recalls a detail that touches your feelings, it triggers attachment instinct. Are you becoming overly reliant on her attention to feel valued? Self-awareness is key. Being conscious of how these behaviors affect you allows you to maintain emotional independence. Fourth, consider context. A woman who remembers minor details about you in stressful or competitive environments might be trying to create influence rather than connection. Real-life examples show that emotional attention can be used to subtly sway decisions or gain favor. Observing context gives insight into motivation. Finally, establish boundaries. Appreciating attention is natural, but do not let it compromise your sense of self. Reflect on whether you're comfortable with the emotional intimacy implied by her memory. Maintaining clear boundaries protects you from being unknowingly manipulated. Remember, recognizing these signs isn't about mistrust, it's about understanding human psychology. Awareness of selective memory and emotional attention equips you to respond thoughtfully. You can value genuine attention, enjoy meaningful connection, and protect yourself from unintentional influence. Understanding these behaviors allows you to see the subtle ways attention, memory, and emotional cues interact in relationships. Observing without overreacting gives clarity and confidence. Psychological insight is a tool, not a weapon, and using it wisely ensures healthier connections. This concludes our deep exploration of why women remember small details about a man, how it affects relationships, and how you can stay aware without becoming obsessive or insecure.